Fitt 2 of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight begins right where Fitt 1 left off, at the resumption of the party, but it does so with a rather portentous note. Everybody goes back to what they were doing, but now that we're told that the rest of the round table, the rest of the assembly, are all rather preoccupied now, saying, well, can you believe just what happened with that green guy who came in here and threw down this challenge? And everybody's talking about that, even as Arthur is trying to get everybody to, don't worry about that, let's go on and have a good time. It has clearly had an effect. And then the poet makes essentially a direct address to the reader, saying, don't be surprised if the plot suddenly goes awry. In the Armitage translation, he goes, should the plot turn pear-shaped, which is a little awkward, a little too metaphorical or colloquial by half, I would say. It's a little bit hard to understand exactly what that is, but basically it just means if things go wrong. Marie Boroff, another fine translation, says, but if the end be harsher, hold it no wonder. Don't worry about that. But it's clear the note that they're trying to strike with this, for men be merry when addled with mead, wine, but each year short-lived is unlike the last and rarely resolves in the style it arrived, which is a odd little note to strike there. The suggestion or the preparation of the reader to expect change, unpredictability, surprises down the line. Now, certainly there will be some surprises down the line, but it's just a somewhat bizarre notion to inject into what is, in many respects, a fairly traditional, old-fashioned Christian, type tale, where it is a orderly universe, a predictable universe, a confident universe. Certainly, and the quotation that I alluded to last time from Wizenga suggests this, that there is a great violence in society that the art is trying to cover up from. But here you really get a sense of the uncertainty and the potential destructiveness of fate just beneath the surface, and the awareness of the unpredictability and the patterns of unpredictability, that we really have no idea what to expect. That seems curious to me, because it is warning of something that is irrational, illogical, deeply, deeply anti-modern, and casts all humanity as uniquely vulnerable, as if God is not looking out for them, which is a drastic thing to be casting into a work in the late Middle Ages. But anyway, the party goes on, things happen, and time passes. This is all in this beginning. We get sense of time passing, of the the seasons coming. We get a sense of the regular natural flow of time. We're counting this in the passing of seasons. Spring comes, and then summer comes, and then fall comes, and it's winter. It's time to start thinking about the next thing. And these are announced also generally by Christian calendars, like we're told when Michaelmas is at the end of September. So you get a sense of, okay, the seasonal accounting of the passing of time seems very traditional, seems very almost pagan, very natural, without necessarily a lot of culture telling you that time is passing. You can just look around and see, well, gee, It's getting warm out, so I know that time is passing. It's a new season. But at the same time, when you're introducing these changes on a Christian calendar with holidays coming up, and okay, Michaelmas here, it's the end of September, winter is about to begin, or fall rather is about to begin. This is a Christianized element in it. So you can see these two themes of the traditional and the natural matched up against the civilized and the Christian, and these are somewhat vying for predominance in the mind of the reader and in the flow of the narrative. As Christmas comes along again, another Christmas holiday, another Christian holiday, or the Christmas season, Gawain's starting to realize, okay, you know, I made a deal. I accepted this game. It's time for me to set out and find the big green guy. And he goes about doing that. First we get a lengthy description of him getting dressed, where we're told with very precise detail what he's wearing. All the articles of clothing, all the articles of armor. And for this, you can see a couple of different things. Number one, it is playing to the audience that a poet in a royal court, shall we say, would expect to confront an audience of aristocrats, and you know, late Middle Ages, there are still knights around. And so you get this this dealing in the minutia of what a knight would really care about, particularly one who is laying around with nothing to do in the winter months. They care about their weapons. They care about their armor. They care about what they wear on a regular basis. This is all just, you know, it's playing to the audience. But it's also something else, because as he is putting on all of this stuff, we're getting a sense of the importance of the dress, of the appurtenances, of the outward appearance of a knight. And there's all this focus on what he's putting on. And what he's putting on is then a layering over what is within. But we're not given a whole lot of we're not given a whole lot of detail as to his thought processes, his emotions in this period. It's all about what he is wearing. That's significant. Among the details that we learn of his stuff is his shield. A knight's shield is a very important piece of equipment, so there needs to be some concern with that. But also, it is because it is so iconographically significant for a knight and the sign of a knight, a symbol of a knight, attention needs to be paid, and would have been paid, because a shield is an opportunity for a knight to demonstrate his allegiance to certain things. It can be a family crest. It can be the flag of his sovereign, of his lord. It can be any number of things that signify in some way what he is a knight for, what he is fighting for. That's his job as a knight, to fight, essentially. And this gives a sense of the ideal or the concept behind his action. With Gawain's shield, we are told two curious details. That on one side of the shield, it has a pentagram, or a pentangle is the word that they use. It's the five-pointed star, which has we're given some suggestion about what it means, but the bulk of it is that it is a it has a history of some pagan symbolic meaning. So it is essentially a Celtic pagan inheritance. On the other side of the shield is essentially a portrait of the Virgin Mary. So there you have the Christianized symbol on the other side. And so on these two faces of this weapon, which are so significant in the identity of a knight, you see the matching of the Celtic paganism with the modern English Christianization. So those two aspects are immediately playing into one another in Gawain's identity, and the identity really of the entire Round Table and Arthurian project, to be perfectly honest. I don't need to talk about that. He sets out on his little walk, and he goes for, or he rides. He gets on his horse named Gringolet, which is a great name. It's fun to say. Gringolet, say it. It's fun. Gets on Gringolet. He's all armored up. He's got his stuff, and he sets out. And he starts heading north. Now, Camelot, by tradition, is generally located in the southwest of England, around Cornwall. And he is going up now. Gawain is going up from there and basically snaking along what is today the border of Wales, getting up to the region that we spoke of around Cheshire. And it is getting very desolate as he goes, because he is getting further and further and further from civilization, from Arthur, from Camelot, from all of the outposts that are cropping up in his, on his, around him. And so it's getting more and more mysterious, more and more wild. Line 740. Next morning he moves on, skirts the mountainside, descends a deep forest, densely overgrown, with vaulting hills to each side of the valley, and ancient oaks in huddles of hundreds. Hazel and hawthorn are interwoven, decked and draped in damp, shaggy moss, and bedraggled birds on bare, black branches pipe pitifully into the piercing cold. Under cover of the canopy he girded Gringolet through mud and marshland, a man all alone, concerned and afraid in case he should fail in the worship of our deity, who, on that date, was born the Virgin Son to save our souls. So he is walking through riding through a wilderness. There are ancient oaks said to be everywhere. Ancient is very important. That means that those trees have been there probably since the pre-Christian era. They are remote from anything that could be called civilization. They are remote from anything that could be called Christian. It is a wild, wild, natural setting that he is a little uncertain of, because it's so raw, so natural. Nature can be scary. There is something completely untrammeled about this place. It is almost Edenic in its primitive nature. It has never been touched by man, it would seem. So as he's going along, he feels this, and surrounded by all this nature, feeling so isolated from Christian civilization, he starts to invoke Christianity. And he starts to worry that, if he should fail in the worship of our deity, who on that date was born the Virgin Son to save our souls. So he feels pressure. He doesn't want to. Maybe he's clinging to Christianity in a moment out of a grasping at solace in feeling somewhat desolate in this unfamiliar surrounding. But it's also a sense that, well, okay, I don't want to, there are expectations upon me to act in a certain way, to hold up the dignity of the Christian faith, let's say, and I don't want to let that down. I don't want to disappoint that. So he's sort of caught in the middle there. And in the middle is always where you want your characters in literature to be, because it means that anything could happen. They have nothing to really lean on. They're working without a net. And he is at this moment. So he's going through this wild situation, this wild landscape. And he sees a castle, the most commanding castle a knight ever kept, positioned in a site of sweeping parkland with a palisade of pikes pitched in the earth in the midst of tall trees for 2 miles or more. So it's suddenly he's out in the middle of nowhere, and then there's a castle. It happens in fairy tales all the time. This is not quite a fairy tale, but it is a mysterious and unexpected appearance. You get the sense that there is a sense of reality going through this, that despite the fact that 1 year previous, he saw a big green guy come in, lose his head, and then just pick it up and walk out the door. He is still somewhat marveling at this curiosity that in this, wild, empty landscape, there is suddenly a castle, which would seem to be a kind of civilization within the wild, but nothing around it. So it's just a little bit bizarre. But he goes up to it, and it's not an uncommon thing in the medieval era that when you're traveling, there are no hotels, there are no motels, you have no credit card, even if there were. So you go up and you can knock on the door of any place around and say, look, it's cold out, can I come in? And a knight would certainly be used to this sort of thing, because one of the things knights do a lot is travel to go fight. And along the way, they take a bed wherever they can get it. So he comes up there, he knocks on the door, he's welcomed in. And there are other knights there, there are staff there, they take him in, they clean him up, they take his wet and dirty clothes, they give him clean clothes, they give him a meal. He's being treated quite royally and quite courteously, you could say. And the lord of the manor himself comes in, and he's very, very welcoming as well. And he says, the master of the manor emerged from his chamber to greet him in the hall with all due honor, saying, "Behave in my house as your heart pleases. To whatever you want, you are welcome. Do what you will." Which is a very gracious thing to say. And, he's being a perfect host. As your heart pleases. So he is curiously indicating from the beginning that what matters is not, what you might expect or might feel wouldn't, is too much to ask. Don't worry about the social. Don't worry about the social expectations on my part, on your part, or whatever. Do what your heart desires. He is interested in something simpler and less encumbered by the expectations of society. Do what your heart desires. Follow an internal and genuine human instinct. And it's just very nice. He has a very nice home, and he's completely throwing it open to this total stranger and sharing it. They have a fire, they have a meal, everything is good. His wife comes in. The lord goes alone, then his lady arrives, concealing herself in a private pew. They're in the chapel. Gawain attends too, tugged by his sleeve. He is steered to his seat, led by the lord, who greets Gawain by name as his guest. So the wife shows up, and it's sort of there's not a lot of dwelling on her. We're not given a name. So it's just a curious little, oh, look, there's a woman here. It's just a little bit odd. And she wasn't alone. She had another woman with her, an older woman. She was hand in hand with a lady on her left, someone altered by age, an ancient dame, well respected, it seemed, by the servants at her side. Uh, Whereas the wife was really quite young and beautiful. The other woman is rather old and haggard. It's hard to really get around saying that, she is someone advanced in years and perhaps not that physically attractive anymore by Gawain's or the narrator's standards. She is short. She is plump. She has not Gawain's type apparently, and very, very old, and somewhat beaten up looking. Not literally, but she's been around the block a few times. And they're walking along hand in hand, and it just looks a little curious. But we're not given a lot of detail on that beyond just what Gawain sees, and Gawain doesn't know anything, so he can report what they looked like and the fact that they were holding hands, but we're not told a lot of details beyond that. But they fall into a nice little pattern for a few days there. Gawain has a chance to recuperate after he'd been on the road for a few days, so he's resting up, he's getting ready, he knows what's coming, he knows he has an appointment to keep, and he's just enjoying himself for a little while, taking a little bit of a vacation, if you will. And at a certain point, he starts asking his host, "Well, do you know where this big green knight is, or the green chapel is, where I'm supposed to find him? I have this agreement. I have to go find this person. Can you help me?" And the guy just sort of like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, I can help you." He says, "Stay longer. Stay in the house, with the castle, with him, just a little bit longer. I'll direct you to your rendezvous when the time is right. You'll get to the Green Chapel, so give up your grieving. You can bask in your bed, bide your time. Save your fond farewells till the first of the year, and meet him by mid-morning to do as you might." So just, hang out. Stay with me. Very gracious host. Very, very welcoming. And, perfectly willing to share. Furthermore, he goes on, let's make a pact. They strike a deal. It's another game, if you will. Here's a wager. The Lord is going to go hunting for the next few days. He's going to go out and hunt during the day and come back at night. He has offered Gawain the opportunity to come along. Gawain doesn't want to. He's tired. Why does he want to go schlep around in the woods when he's tired and cold, and he knows that he's, got this thing to do? So, here's a wager. It's a game. It's a bet. What I win in the woods will be yours, and what you gain while I'm gone, you will give to me. Young sir, let's swap and strike a bond. Let a bargain be a bargain, for better or worse. Seems kind of strange, a little curious, but okay. Why not? What could happen? What's he really going to get lying around the castle? He's got all the food he's being given. It's like, oh, okay, can't really give that back to you. But, what's the deal? But it seems like an open-ended and perfectly harmless deal to strike, because the Lord has said that, well, I'm going to go out, I'm going to go hunting, and when I get back, anything that I bag that day, that's yours, entirely yours. And we'll see, we'll compare. It'll help pass the time as we swap at the end of each day. What could go wrong?